Hey, everybody, welcome to the podcast. We are here to help you understand the unique cultural needs of Gen Z and Generation Alpha. I'm your host, Chuck Peters, and I'm so glad you're here today. This is the Etch Next Gen Ministry Podcast. It's important for us as leaders to maintain healthy habits of our own leadership development. The things that we read, the things we listen to, the way that we lead from a perspective of vision, how we delegate and share responsibility and train up others to follow us is all so crucial to us as leaders. We're not just focused, or we shouldn't just be focused on completing tasks and accomplishing our checklists. We need to be leaders who are aware of the people, the teams, and the projects that we lead in a way that allows us to continue to elevate our thinking so that we can lead the best possible way we can in our ministries. In today's episode, my friend Jeff Wallace joins us. He's not just Jeff Wallace, he is Dr. Jeff Wallace. He's the Chief Strategic Officer at Student Leadership University, and he leads the Youth Pastors Summit gatherings that happen all over the country all throughout the year, including a big national event that happens in November in Orlando. If you're not familiar with Jeff or with SLU or with YPS, do a little bit of Googling, check out the show notes. Jeff is a friend that you need to know, and I'm so thankful for the perspective that he brings to the show today as he and I talk about leadership habits that you need to develop. We're going to compare each of our top 5 lists and see how many tips we come away with. I guarantee it's going to be a conversation that will enthrall you and engage you and equip you where you are. Now join me in my conversation with Dr. Jeff Wallace. So listeners, we are in the midst of a series on leadership. And as we talk about this, I wanted to talk with a friend who is a leader of leaders. I have had a lot of opportunities to be in leadership roles in business and in the church. And so has my friend, Dr. Jeff Wallace. And so, Jeff, I'm excited to have you here today so that we can compare lists as we talk about what are some of those things that as a leader of leaders, you think, and I think, are the top things that we need to do and continue doing, what kind of leadership habits we might need to have to help us stay sharp and stay current and stay on top of the game. Love that. Jeff Wallace, awesome. All the way from Orlando, checking in today.
Old town.
What's the weather like where you are right now? Is it like 80 degrees and sunny?
No, it's 90 actually. It's the low 90s there,
dude.
And we will have probably 2 weeks of winter in December, and winter for us is like I would say mid 70s, and you should see everybody bring out their jackets and their Ugg boots and stuff. It's hilarious, and so man. All the snowbirds be coming.
We lived in Florida for 5 years. We were in Ocala. And then down in Lake Mary area. But what we learned when we got there, we moved in May, and we thought, the kids will make friends playing outside during the summer. No, nobody went outside during the summer. People drove to their house. The garage door went up. It closed behind them, and they came out in October, November, and December to play outside. It was just too brutally hot.
Man. I mean, you have to take like 4 showers a day. During the summertime, it's brutal.
I mean, we record now, though, it's October. It's September. It's the end of September right now.
It's September, but it'll be October. I mean, we're close. We're
very close.
October, and it's still
hot.
Weather's still 80, 90 degrees, man. Yeah, man. It's but we're actually going to turn the corner here soon. Once we get to mid-October, November, then, it will really kind of get comfortable, and it's great. And the city is lit up, man. I do love Orlando during Christmas season. Yeah. It's beautiful. It makes me feel like the happiest place on earth.
I do have envy. So
I'm sorry. Hey, man, listen, Nashville is nice. My wife and I we considered to move to Nashville some years ago, but the Lord kept us in Atlanta, then moved us to Orlando. So
we have been all over the country. My wife and I, her family's from the Pacific Northwest. She went to high school in Chicago. I grew up in New Jersey. We moved to California. We met in South Carolina at Bible school. Now we're in Nashville. And so we have settled here in Tennessee.
Yeah.
One of the great things about Nashville is there's a lot of people here who are not from here. And so it's easy to feel like you can blend in and belong, even if you're not from Florida. I found Florida to be that way also, because there's people from all over who find their way to migrate there.
Yeah, very eclectic. You always know the growth and the diversity of the city based on the expansion of the airport. When Nashville began to expand their, BNA began to expand the airport, you knew, oh, okay, there is significant growth coming to the city.
Right.
And it's the same with Orlando. We have a new sea terminal, which is now, the expansion of the airport. We got the Bright Line, which is the train that comes in. So yeah, man, there aren't real Floridians, like legit Floridians anymore. Everybody's an implant.
That's right. Transplants in migratory people. Yeah, there's also a whole lot of golf carts around there. People driving golf carts like their cars.
It is.
Whole different story. So we'll have to have another conversation about golf cart culture and where we go there. So today we're talking about leadership. So man, I know you have a heartbeat for developing leaders. You do this through SLU, where you are working with teens to develop them as leaders. You also do this through Youth Pastor Summit, through YPS, where that whole event, a series of events all over the country, and then national in November coming up down there in your neck of the woods. 4th. Where you're investing in, or where we together, right? Because we partner together at YPS, where we're investing in leaders who are youth ministry, student ministry leaders, next gen leaders, who is the audience for this podcast. So as I thought about who to have a conversation with about leadership habits, man, I thought of you right away. And I thought, how fun would it be if we each brought our list of maybe a top five leadership habits that we would recommend that leaders might cultivate, develop, lean into, and maintain consistently, so that we don't just find ourselves in a position of leadership where we stagnate, but where we can continue to grow and develop as leaders.
Yeah.
So I want to get into our lists. And see what we brought. So I thought maybe what would be fun is if you share one from your list, and I'll see if it's on mine, and then I can share one. We can go back and forth. But
I love it.
Listeners, this is basically a top 5 or top 10, depending on where we go.
Hey, listen, 5, 10, whatever. I love this topic, Chuck. I think it's so significant, so important. And you're right, talking about leadership to leaders, man, that's one of the things that I love the most. So let's jump right into it. So for my first one, I have that leaders must lead with vision, not just direction. Because I think there's a difference between being a leader and a boss, and I think great leaders inspire by painting like this compelling picture of the future and showing others how they can be a part of it. And when I say lead with vision, not just direction, it's not about telling people what to do, but showing them why it matters. And so for me, that's my first one, is lead with vision, not just direction.
I love that. I love that. So I didn't put that on my list, but let's talk about that a little bit more. I often talk about you need to lead with the why, right? Because we all know the who, what, where, and how of our ministries. It's Wednesday night at 7:00, and here's who's showing up, and here's what we're teaching. And we can bring volunteers into that with us. But if we don't give them a clear and compelling vision, a purpose for that, they're not going to buy into that vision, right? So people are drawn to leaders who lead from a place of passion and purpose. And so we have to know what that is ourselves first, right? We have to understand what is that why, and then we have to communicate it in a way that contaminates everybody around us with a passion for that same thing.
Absolutely. I
go back to COVID, right? The one thing we learned from that is you're contagious, right? Whatever you have, you're contagious. You wipe off your potato chips and all the stuff. But that is true as a leader. So for leaders, whatever you have is contagious to everybody around you. So if you're negative, or if you are, out of sorts, or if you are uh, even even just unsure of why we're here,
Yeah.
people will catch whatever it is you have. So the best way to
Yeah,
get
you're
people
right.
to buy in is for you to be passionate about that.
Yeah, yeah. It's what John Maxwell taught years ago, Chuck, where he says we teach what we know, but we reproduce who we are, right?
Oh, good.
And it's to your point of, uh how can people catch the vision? How do they catch the why? And so, how are you as a leader inspiring people to follow you? And if it's just based on titles, if it's just based on positions, then can I just tell you, your leadership is not going to be very effective or even sustainable.
Mm.
But if you want to be a person who can really kind of paint the picture of saying, man, here is where we're going, and this is why we're going.
Yes.
That I've just seen over the years gets people connected to the vision, and also they begin to jump in the ditch with you and go through a brick wall for you.
That's right. And they will do that if you provide that inspiration and that motivation. And if you don't, you're going to say, how come my leaders aren't committed? How come I can't count
Yeah,
on anybody? Why is it
yeah,
that they're going the wrong direction over here that's different than where I was
yeah,
hoping we would go?
yeah.
Maybe it's because we have not articulated that vision in a way that's clear and compelling.
Yeah, yeah. And I think there's a difference between transformational leadership and transactional leadership. Now, I think both are important, but I think sometimes we can be too transactional,
Mm.
where we're just kind of like, hey, I'm coming in. Here is the list I need for my team to check.
Hmm.
Like, oh, you got to do this, this,
Checking
this, this.
boxes. Yeah.
Checking box. Now, hear me. Those things are important.
Right. We can't miss those boxes. They need to be
You can't.
accomplished. Right.
Yeah. But if you're just a transactional leader, you don't really kind of build that relational equity that really inspire and connect the team with you. Say, man, I'm here because I feel called.
Yeah.
I'm here because I know that there's a greater purpose that I'm a part of, and I want to be a part of that. So,
And when you are a person of passion and purpose,
yeah,
and you
yeah,
attract other people who are people of passion and purpose, who are bought into that same
yeah,
vision that
yeah,
you have, man, your ministry will
yeah,
explode with
yeah,
energy and all the great things we want. So much of it starts with us having a
yeah,
clear understanding of that why. Man, good.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
a really good. That's just number one off your
That's
list.
number one.
Let me see. I've got, so there's one on my list. It was number 4 on my list, but let's
Mhm.
go here. It's going to be my number 1
Okay.
now. So I articulated a similar thing, but a little differently. And
Mhm.
so I said, it's important for us as leaders to know the goal, to have a
Mm.
clear definition of what is success. And in my
Yeah.
mind, defining success is really about determining your destination. Right. So
Yeah.
we have a
Yeah.
group of kids or students who enter in at a young age, they go through our system and they're going to graduate or move on at another. And
Hmm.
for me, this point is we as leaders need to know the end goal. So what is it that
Yeah.
we want that senior when they enter
Yep.
in as a 6th or 7th grader? How do we want
Yeah.
them to exit our ministry as a senior,
Yeah.
which connects to vision, right? Some of that
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
vision, but part of it is some practical things. What is it
Hmm.
that I want them to know, to understand,
Hmm.
to feel,
Yeah. Yeah.
to be able to communicate to others, in what ways to be connected, to the Lord, to His Word, and to the church. So
Yeah.
knowing the goal is, in
Yeah.
understanding what your end game is, what is your outcome that you desire, is my
Yeah.
take.
Yeah. I love that. So, I'm an inspirational guy, but I'm also a systems guy.
Uh-huh.
So for me, I wanted it, to your point. I love what you talked about. What does a 6th grader look like as a fully devoted follower of Jesus Christ when they graduate from high school? Like,
Yes.
that's what I want. So 2 things I'm asking myself: what are the milestones? And how do we build moments around those milestones? But then 2, what is the assimilation process? How do I assimilate these students from 6th to 12th grade? Like, that, to me, you should, to your point, Chuck, be asking yourself as a leader, because, man, if you are able to articulate that to someone, oh, you have a greater probability or higher probability of getting a leader who will stick and stay with you, because they're excited about seeing these milestones being reached. They know where we're going, and they're also being inspired. Oh my gosh, I'm helping a student tell a different story with their life, and I'm walking alongside them in that process. So I love that. I
Well, in
love
my
that.
experience, I think there are too many leaders who have not identified what they want that senior to know or how they want them to
Hmm.
grow before they go.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
we're doing what we do week in and week out. And maybe
Hmm.
there's a structure to our weekly service. We're going to have
Yeah.
mingle time. We used to call it Roman talk, where you just
Yeah.
roam and talk, Roman talk. So we're going to have some of that connection time, free form, right?
I
When the
like
students show
that.
up, we're going to have
Roman
a time of
talk.
worship. We're going to have a time of
Yeah.
teaching. We're going to have some small group time to discuss. And we
Yeah.
do that and we go through those
Roman talk.
motions week in and
Yeah.
week out without really setting those, like you mentioned, milestones and moments. We have
Hmm.
to, a good leader is going to say, these are the milestones, right?
Yeah.
We've got a newish grandbaby who's just a
Yeah.
year and a
Oh,
half old,
congrats.
almost two, and another one on the way, which is cool for my daughter and her
That's
son. But
awesome.
there's different, when the kids are little, right? You take them to the
Yeah.
doctor and you're like, they're in the 78th percentile of
Hmm.
where they fit. We don't have any measure for that, most of us,
Yeah.
in our ministries,
Yeah.
as we look at kids and students to say, are they
Yeah.
developing at a rate and a pace that would be in line with what our hope is for them by the time they leave?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
don't have a
love that.
formula for what that is, but that is
Yeah.
something that we need to be thoughtful of as leaders,
Yeah.
to know what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, man, because you can't manage what you don't measure, right? And so you got to be able to have those things that you can measure as far as what's success. So yeah, I love
Good
that,
word.
man. That's good.
All right, you want to go
Good
back to
job.
your list? What do you got
All right,
next?
yeah, cool. Number two, I will go with this one. Choose growth over comfort in every season of life. And this idea is that as leaders, through our development, it requires continual leading and leadership development. It requires us always being comfortable embracing challenges. It requires us stepping out of our comfort zone, because growth never happens, in my humble opinion, it never happens in a safety zone. It always thrives in a stretch zone. Like for me, if I want to be a person who's going to be healthy, but I like to eat, then I have to stretch myself and say, hey, maybe you cannot have a number one with American cheese from Chick-fil-A with a sweet tea or a Coke. Maybe you have to have some grilled nuggets,
And that kale salad.
kale salad.
Man,
Yes.
that's like
And
the worst
unsweet
thing on the
tea.
menu. So I know there's people who love their kale, who love that super salad or whatever that thing is called. Not me,
Yes, yes.
man. I'm sorry. I'm not going to
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A for my kale.
Yes.
That's
Now,
kale filet.
psychologically, that just doesn't seem right,
Yeah.
to have that. But if I want to be the best version of myself, I have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. To steal an old LeBron James phrase, that you got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. So if you want to grow as a leader, you got to embrace challenges. Don't run from it. You don't run from hard. That's how you develop grit. And you got to be willing to step out in the comfort zone. What is something that you've not done before? What's some places and spaces that you've not been before? Because as leaders, you don't want to have just a single story perspective where your leadership is confined to just what is convenient and comfortable. And so I think that's important for all leaders, that, for leaders, choose growth over comfort in every season. That's my number two.
Okay, that's a good one. That's a convicting one, right? Because honestly, I think for a lot of us, when we look at leadership from a distance before we're in the seat, we look at those leaders and we're like, man, once I get there, they're kicking back and putting their feet on the desk, right? That's easy. You can coast once you get there. But no, you're absolutely right. We always have to keep looking for the hard things to do. But man, who wants to do more hard things, right? Easy and comfort are what we want. That's our human nature. I just want it to be easy and comfortable. And when it's hard, so this, what I might add to that part of the conversation here is we shouldn't expect leadership to be easy. right? So, but
Yeah.
it's not. Leadership
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
it brings difficulty with it
Yeah.
because it brings responsibility and accountability. There's
Yeah.
all kinds of things that we need to do to develop others, and we're worried
Yeah.
about, budgets and all the things that we have to handle as leaders. It's not easy to be a leader.
Yeah.
It will
Yeah.
be difficult. But
Yes.
I love your challenge that we need to pursue those hard things
Yeah.
because hard things make us better. Easy
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
lazy in a lot of scenarios.
Yeah. Well, as leaders, Chuck, we should be constant learners. Leaders are learners.
Okay.
Right?
That's my number. Okay. Now we're going because that's on
sorry.
my list.
Sorry,
that's right.
sorry,
I'm going to set you up, but I'm going to get credit for the number. That was number one on my list. So let me set it up and then you pick up where you left off.
You're good.
So here's mine, leadership habit. This is number one on my list. Be a lifelong learner.
Yes.
Never stop learning. And so for me, what that looks like for leaders is have a reading list, have a listening. What are you reading? Who are you listening to? Podcasts or preachers or whatever that is, TED Talks, other speakers. Attend conferences.
Yeah.
And part of that that goes with this in my mind is stay humble, right? Because as a leader, if we feel like we know it all, we're not going to listen to other people. We're not going to continue to learn from other people.
Yeah.
But one of the best things you can do as a leader to continue to grow is to keep looking to other leaders who are farther down the road than you are, who have skills and things. And I enjoy just doing this with you.
Steph, right?
Same. I'm writing notes for myself based on what you're saying. And now I'm going to go eat kale when we're done. I don't know. But yeah, this idea, and I'll send it back to you here to unpack a bit, the idea of continuing to always be learning something new.
Yeah. No, Chuck, I love that, what you're saying, and you're spot on, brother. It is so important for us as leaders to never, you said it earlier, never think we've arrived and always stay humble. I remember I served previously for 23 years at my local church in Atlanta before transitioning from it, from the local church to the parachurch nonprofit space with Student Leadership University. And man, the learning curve was steep, it was intense. Now we're still preaching the gospel, trying to see the kingdom advance, loving God's people, sharing our faith with those who are struggling. But the setting and the environment was different. I'll be very honest. I went from preaching and teaching and doing life in a Black church to a very eclectic and diverse organization that did not really look like what I would see every day, every week for 2+ decades. So for me, it is, man, I need to recognize that as a leader, man, I've been in the game for a long time, but I can still learn. And I would just say, I'll put a pin to it this way. For those who are listening, once you stop learning, you will stop effectively leading. You know what I mean? And so leaders have to be people who say, man, and learners, being lifelong learners. I love what you said, Chuck. Like, what are you listening to? Where are you going? What conferences are you attending? You got to invest in your leadership.
So is there some, can I put you on the spot? What is it right now?
Sure.
What's something that you're enjoying either reading or listening to that you have found to be helpful to you as a leader?
Man, so Matt Britton, I may pronounce it wrong, Britton, I think his name. He has a book called Generation AI, or the AI Generation. And it is a fascinating read, fascinating topic because of the rise of artificial intelligence. And, and so I am constantly amazed that when I think I have an inkling of an idea of what it all is about, I realize I really haven't even scratched the surface, and the implications of artificial intelligence as it comes to ministry development, how we engage students. And so that is something that I've been reading a lot of stuff. John Lennox, he has a book. Dr. John Lennox has a book, big, thick book on AI, but it says about AI, but it's also a lot about Revelation, book of Revelations, and end time stuff is amazing too. But, things around the topic of really, understand. I'll be honest, at my age, I'll be 50 at October 3rd, and but you can be afraid of stuff like that. I don't want to be tracked. I remember, I'm gonna date myself here, Chuck, the old Gene Hackman and Will Smith movie Enemy of the State.
Oh yeah.
When they were tracking it with these satielites and all that stuff, and I thought that was kind of funky and weird.
It's all
And
sci-fi and futuristic, and now
yeah,
that's
yeah,
that's already happening. Yeah. The
yeah.
Matrix is
So
real life.
yeah, exactly. So that for me is what, I've been reading a lot
Mm.
of books and information on that,
Good.
around
I've
AI.
become a fan. I'll go, since you did a book, I'll do a
Yeah,
podcast. I've become
yeah,
a fan of, a lot of people know Carey Nieuwhof. He has a
yeah,
leadership podcast. I think it's the Carey
hmm,
Nieuwhof Leadership Podcast, where
yeah,
he has all kinds of different leaders that he has
hmm,
on and has conversations with. And there's just so much to
yeah,
soak in from those
yeah,
conversations. And so that's one that I would recommend that you check out as a leader if you don't already listen
yeah,
to that. So,
yeah, yeah. I love
all right,
that. That's
let's move
good.
on. What's your
All
number
right.
three? What else you got?
Number three, I have prioritize character before competency.
Good.
I think prioritize character. I think, I personally believe that your skills will open up a door for you, but your character and integrity will sustain your influence. You know, I think a leader's credibility is built on consistency, not just with words, but in your actions and your values. I think, you got a lot of people who are competent, who can talk and present themselves in a very articulate and smart way.
Mhm.
If I'm hiring or I'm trying to do life with somebody, I'm not looking for competency first. I'm looking for a person who has authentic, godly character,
Yeah,
because competency, you can develop that over
sure.
time. I think the character is a situation of the heart. And so for me as a leader, I want to be known not as the smartest, not as the greatest, but I want to be known as a man who, and a father and a husband and a leader who had godly character more than anything else.
Man, that's a good word. That covers a lot of things, doesn't it? Right?
Yeah,
Because if you have
yeah,
somebody who has the right heart, who is humble,
mhm,
who is of high godly character, they're gonna make decisions and choices as a
yeah,
leader
hmm,
that will be appropriate and beneficial. So that
hmm,
goes I had a conversation in a recent episode with Delaney Williams and Amanda
yeah,
Mejias talking about the importance of taking care of yourself before
hmm,
you serve others. And they were saying you got to take care of your own spiritual health, your own physical
hmm,
health, your own mental health, your own
yeah,
emotional health before you can minister to others effectively.
yeah,
And that's true for us as leaders.
yeah,
So
man,
we need to be people of character. Yeah, yes,
yeah,
we need to be competent and all of that.
yeah, sure,
Yes, for
yeah,
sure,
absolutely,
competencies are important, but
hmm,
competency without character is
that
devoid,
part.
right? Is missing, is lacking.
That's a good one. Yeah,
Character without competency also doesn't always work. The competencies have
yeah,
to come.
yeah,
But if you
yes,
remove the character part of that, that's a big
yeah,
loss. I like you use the word credibility.
yeah,
That, I mean, that's key, right? Because the
hmm,
people we've all, in addition to being leaders now, we've been followers and still are of other
yes,
people. And if you think of a leader that you had who you just didn't trust, you
yeah,
didn't respect, you weren't going to follow them. You mentioned before, like running through the brick wall, right? Because I get the
yeah,
vision. We need
yeah,
to be leaders who are worthy of. So I use my little 3-letter thing. We were talking about this before.
yeah, yeah,
TRI, right? TRI is my leadership mantra for my team. Our KPI for my team is TRI. So the key
yeah,
performance indicators are trust, respect, and influence. We need to carry ourselves in ways that show
hmm,
that we are trustworthy, godly people
yeah,
who are going to be upright, who are above reproach.
yeah,
We're going to be godly in our character and our nature, and we're going to be wise in our business dealings and wise in
yeah,
our the resources we create,
yeah,
informed by research and by
yeah,
understanding what's happening in the real culture of real kids and
yeah,
real places, so we can bring
yeah,
effective ministry solutions.
Yeah.
All
yeah.
of that is based, it starts with trust and respect. We can't expect to have
Absolutely.
influence until we
Right.
first earn trust and respect.
Yeah, that's good, man. No, I agree with that. And I think, and again, I just want to go on record because I don't want any of your listeners to misquote me on X or any place. I'm not saying that competency is not important. I'm just saying when you prioritize it as a leader, your character, I think that's why Jesus, when he preached the Sermon on the Mount, in Matthew chapter 5-7, yes, he talks about influence. He talks about relationships, disciplines, lordship, and discernment. But he starts with talking about character when he talks about the Beatitudes, and so I think that is, as Jesus is showing, what does it look like to live as a citizen of heaven and how he progresses through the Sermon on the Mount. I think it's important to note that he starts with this idea of the importance of having godly character.
Yeah. And Jesus so many times points to the heart over the head, right? He looks at the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the teachers of the law, and he's like, they know all the answers. They know the law. They keep the law. They follow the rules, but their hearts are far from me. Right.
That's it.
They're clean cups on the outside, but inside they're filthy. They're whitewashed tombs full of dead men's bones. May that never be said of us. Right. So as leader, the other note here I would make, Jeff, for the listener is, guys, it's easy to look at character flaws in other people and to excuse them in ourselves.
That's a good word.
We have to self-examine to make sure, and we need accountability in our lives, right?
Yeah.
Because one of the things that's hard for leaders is we can get into a place where there's nobody who is walking close enough to us. We become separate from everybody else as a leader, and we might think that we're above or outside the rules or outside whatever. And we need to invite people into our lives to say, look, help me stay accountable in my walk. And it can be dangerous for a leader. Happens to pastors all the time, right? Where they can become isolated and insulated away from letting anybody into their life.
Yeah. Before we move on, you just hit on something I think is so important. I don't want people to miss what you just said was so vital as leaders. You said having people in your life. I think character requires accountability.
Good.
And as I think when you said it, it just made me remember. I want to make sure if you want to not only have godly character, but if you're looking to maintain it, I would ask, what is your system of accountability around you? Because that's how you stay humble. You have people in your life who are going to call you out, who see blind spots in your own leadership. So I would say, character it's sustainable character. I would say it this way. Sustainable character requires accountability. So
good.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right, I'm going to move on to my number 3. This ties back to what was my number 2. I don't know what it was, but the numbers are all out of order here. The last one that I think I had brought to the table was to be a lifelong learner. So this one piggybacks off of that on my list. So my number 3 is be a teacher. So be a teacher. So here's what I say. Here's my thought on that, right? So we can become, we don't want to become containers of information. We want to be conduits where that stuff that flows in has to flow back out to somebody else.
That's great.
So in my experience, the best leaders are people who, in addition to being good readers and good listeners, are speakers and writers. Right? Because when you take the things you're learning and you just stick them in your head or write them on a pad, they stop there. But when I take those concepts, those principles, and I'm like, I'm going to think on these to the degree where I could teach it to somebody else. It's host a podcast where you have to talk about stuff. Even if it's teaching your team within your church, unpack principles on the whiteboard that say, guys, here's 3 leadership principles I learned this week that I want to share with you. Be a conduit, not a container. And so I would encourage leaders to be writers, even if it doesn't come easy for you, right? Do hard things. That was one of our principles. If it's not easy to be in front of people, you're more of an executive type leader than you are a teaching leader. It's so good for us to write blog posts, write books, write conference plans, speak at conferences, lead the training in your church, create content. And so that's my tip, Jeff, is don't just be a learner, but go the next step and don't keep that learning to yourself. Become somebody who is a multiplier of that learning by teaching it and sharing it with others.
That's great. Okay, so this is awesome because what you just did really connects and it's probably overlaps. I was it connects and overlaps to my number 4.
Good. Okay,
so
great.
This is one that we got because my number 4 pretty much I just said build leaders, not just followers.
Yes.
And I talked about how the measure of strong leadership is not about personal success, but how many other people you're able to elevate, how many people you're able to empower and inspire. So to your point, man, how are you a conduit for information? That means you're intentional about multiplying yourself
others,
and developing others, and so you want to build leaders, not followers. Like, so if you are a children's ministry leader, whether you're a children's director or a children's pastor, don't just say to your church, "Oh, we need X amount of preschool leaders, or we need X amount of nursery leaders, and we need X amount of elementary school leaders." Or whatever. No. Yeah, you may need that numerically, but once you grab that, be a person who's intentional about, man, I don't just want to have 15 children's ministry leaders. Followers. I don't have 15 children's ministry followers. I want to develop 15 children's ministry leaders so they can go out and do the work of the ministry, and so I echo an amen and all of that you just said, because that's so important. I love the way you phrase. I think your phrase is better, of being a conduit, of really kind of that leadership development. So my number 4 would have been build leaders, not just followers.
I love how this fits together, right? I knew that there would be overlapping connection. I thought this would be a fun way to approach this. So I'm glad it's working, listeners. It's working. It's working.
So that I'll jump to my number 5.
Wait, hold on. Let me do something else. Let me add something else to that before you go.
Good.
So I want to add to that. You know what? I think it's even more important than ever before that we as leaders are cultivating our own replacements. Because when we look around at seminaries and all the places that we go, there are fewer and fewer people who are in the official formal pipeline to become the next generation of next gen leaders, student ministry leaders, kids ministry leaders. And as we see a shortage there, what's happening is we have more and more people who are being promoted into preschool kids, middle school, high school leaders from within the church. Because you were a good volunteer. We have an opening. Hey, would you do this? And we have people again who are willing, who may not be prepared or equipped. And so, man, we can no longer expect, and we probably never should have all along, right? That we would outsource the training of our own people. We need to own that training, and we need people who are saying, I see something in you. I would like to walk with you, to disciple you as a leader, to help you develop some of these things. Have them listen to that podcast and discuss it with you. Assign them to read a book with you, right?
Love it.
And we need to have eyes to see people in our own churches who might become our own succession plans.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, dude. Come on, that was like a mic drop. You should have saved that for the end. Like that is just like boom, And so no, I love that. I love. All right,
now you're gonna go to your number. Is it number 5?
Yeah, my number 5. Which
I still got my number 4.
Oh, give me your number 4.
Is it gonna derail you?
No.
Okay, good. Okay, so my number 4 connects back to where you just went with this one. So I love how these are kind of connecting together like
awesome.
train cars.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yes.
So here's my word for leaders. Okay. So a leadership habit that I want to see more leaders develop is the art of delegating.
Ooh.
Delegate. So here's the way that I
let me just put my feet up, because you're about to run over my toes. And so
you cannot elevate unless you delegate. So
That's good.
we are
That's a
not
good rhyme.
meant as leaders to be saddled and strapped with carrying the weight of the full ministry ourselves.
Yeah.
The
Yeah, I
only
like
way that we can
Yeah.
elevate is to delegate. So we have to be willing to release things to other people. Now I go Exodus 13, right? This is where Moses is in the wilderness and Jethro comes. You know the story. Moses sits down, all the people line up all day long, and Jethro says, "What are you doing? You can't possibly do this yourself. You're going to be exhausted. The people are going to be frustrated." He's like,
Yeah.
"Here's what you do. Select," that's a key word.
Yeah.
Select from among the people those who are trustworthy, of good character,
Yeah.
right? People who
Yeah.
are trustworthy, of good character, train them up and teach them and put them in charge of hundreds and fifties and tens, and let them handle this stuff and then bring the big issues to you. That's a beautiful picture of delegation right there in Exodus.
I love that.
With Moses. Too many of us as leaders try to do it all ourselves. No, this is me. It's my responsibility. I'm the only one who can do this. And as soon as we do that, we limit our ability to advance. Right. So
Gosh, that's good.
I think of leadership. Again, we talked earlier, like I like pictures.
Yeah.
So I have a picture of like, I don't know, I think of like a pirate ship or like a pilgrim boat or something. Okay. Old school ship where you got some people who are down inside the boat rowing the oars, right? You got somebody else who's on a little bit higher level who is turning the wheel. But there's somebody at the highest level in the top of the crow's nest saying, we're going the wrong way. Right. Yeah. Let's look at the compass, and we need to turn that direction. Yeah. So we can't be rowing the boat, steering the boat, and setting the direction. The only way that we can truly lead, from using your word, with vision, clarity of vision, is we have to climb to the top of the post. Yeah. So we have to get out of the trenches of the day to day. And there are too many of us. And dude, maybe Jeff, this might be a sore spot for people, because in a lot of ways, it's an issue of pride. Nobody can do this as good as I can.
That's exactly where I was about to go with
Nobody, if you can't do it right, do it yourself, right? So, or if others can't do it right, whatever, that phrase, I've got it wrong. But you get the point, right? The idea is too many of us are like, I can't release anything because nobody does it as good as I can.
Yeah, if you want to do it right, do it yourself.
That's what it is. Thank you for that. I needed that. Yeah. If you want to do it right, do it yourself. No. And I'm saying no. Sometimes it's better to have it be done 98% right and have somebody else carry it for you, so you can do other things, higher level things. And the only way to keep from getting swamped and pulled under is to release things to other people.
Yeah, man, Chuck, we could do a whole podcast on this alone, because I think this is some people who are dealing with burnout, I would suggest, is self-imposed burnout, because of the refusal to delegate, and that process of delegation. Forgive me, this is not an original. So you probably would know when I say the process, you may be able to coin where it came from. So this is not a Jeff Wallace deal, but it is. I remember hearing the process of delegation is number one is I do and you watch. Yes. So I'm doing it, you watch. Number two is we do it together. Yep. Number three is you do, then I watch. And then number four is you do, and I go do something else.
That's exactly what I mean? Right. That's right.
And so when you think about the importance of delegation, you can't get to number four if you're not willing to do 1, 2, and 3.
Yes.
And so I think that as leaders, you're again, and can I just say it this way? You're not that important, and so we need
to be reminded of that sometimes.
Yeah.
Right?
You're not that important. It's like, oh, if I don't do this, no one else could do it. And I think sometimes, it's a sinful way of thinking. That's how you maintain job security, is you just hoard and hold on and not delegate and multiply. And I think that, and what you're saying is that the strength of great leaders is their ability to delegate and multiply. Yeah. Because what you do is you you expand your influence and your reach when you can delegate and multiply.
There's another struggle here that I know is true, because it's been true for me as a leader.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
true for a lot of people out there.
Me too. Yeah, yeah.
This is another sticky point. Okay, so excellence and perfection are not the same thing. There are so many of us who are driven by perfection. The goal is it's absolutely perfect and flawless. That's, first of all, that's not realistic, right? You can work something to death and never get it perfect, and always leave feeling unsatisfied, because perfection is elusive. It's impossible to get perfection. But excellence is always attainable. So there's a measure of excellence that we can apply to everything. So in this, I think the whole delegation picture, when I put myself in a place and I say, well, I can't release that because nobody does as good as me. Like you said, first of all, I need to be intentional about training someone that I can hand it to. Maybe today, no one can do it as good as you, because you own the vision, you own the values. You need to pass those along so that you can then hand off the tasks that go with it. Man, if I put myself in that place of nobody can do as good as me, what do you do with Jesus and the disciples? Because here is God himself who picks these 12 vastly underqualified people, right? In Acts, when Peter and John are teaching, the people look and they're amazed, because they're like, these are unschooled, ordinary men. How did they get to be like that? How'd they get to be so smart? Man, so you probably have better people than Jesus had in terms of their aptitude, right? For that. Yet he, God himself, delegated the church, the Great Commission, to fishermen and tax collectors and these people who would not be the choice of the culture. Yet he, knowing that they couldn't do it as good as him, gave it to them, and he said, you will do greater things than I. Right? Yeah. Whoa. What is that? Jesus gives us the example of if anyone had the right to keep the ministry to himself, it was him. And yet he chose to hand it off.
Give it away.
He walked with them for 3 years through hard things, good things. They saw all kinds of stuff. But at the end, he left and delegated to them. And if you look at how God has grown the church, spread the gospel across the world, that started with these 12. And we see how fast in Acts, when they preached, how many were added to the church in thousands a day. It's amazing to see what they did. But that's because there's a willingness of the leader to release it to them. Not without the training, but but at the right time, he released and stepped back and said, now go.
That's another way, Chuck, to look at Matthew 28:19. You know, the great, what did Jesus commission us to do? He said, go. Therefore, baptize people in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. And he says to teach them everything I've taught you, basically, is what Jesus said, know. And so I've taught you already, so you go and teach others what I've taught you, and so that is the Great Commission personified. We got
to get to our number fives. What's your number five, Jet? What do you got?
All right, so number 5 is stay teachable no matter your title. And I think that's important. It kind of goes back to understanding, choosing growth out of your comfort zone. Again, I said, the best leaders are lifelong learners. We've already talked about humility is important. If you're going to be teachable, then you have to be open to feedback and hungry for wisdom. So leaders are always trying to leaders should always try to connect with people who have been places that they have not been, or seen things they haven't, but be teachable, be a person who's always willing to be course corrected, with wise counsel. So that would be my number 5, is be teachable no matter your title. So from senior pastor all the way down to volunteer, as a leader, you want to be teachable no matter what.
Great. Good. Okay, my number five, and this comes out of, I'm sure that a lot of you have seen this. Jeff, you're probably familiar with it, the Eisenhower decision matrix. Are you familiar with that? It plots out in a grid of 4, urgency and importance. right? Some things are low importance and low urgency. Yep. Others are high urgency and high importance. And the key quadrant to live in is to deal with the important before it becomes urgent. So the way that I have articulated that is to say a good leader is proactive, not reactive.
Reactive, right?
Right, because if we wait, we will be barraged and inundated with all kinds of problems, and we can spend most of our day, every single day, putting out fires and trying to take care of problems. Or we can get ahead of that. This is a little bit of climbing up in the crow's nest, right? We can elevate and think about vision in a way that we can anticipate trouble before it smacks us upside the head. So get out in front of things, be proactive, not reactive, and it will change your stress. Because one of the things that's devastating to all of us is just being stressed out all the time. We're busy. We have a lot of responsibility. If we are attacked by things that blindside us, and we're dealing with putting out fires and dealing with problems all the time, that's an unhealthy place to live. And I think that leads to that burnout that you were talking about and a lack of sustainability. The best way to find longevity is to elevate your eyes, look down the road, anticipate things that could be hazards before they become fires, and take care of them ahead of time by being proactive, not reactive.
Yeah, love it. Hey, I ain't got nothing. That's good.
Man,
that's good. Said enough. Said it all. That's
good. We've covered a lot of ground, Jeff.
We did.
Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for the leadership that you provide as a leader of leaders through SLU at YPS, all the things that you do, man. I'm so thankful for your friendship, for our partnership, the ways that we get to work together. And just thank you for coming on and sharing.
Yeah. Well, listen, Chuck, thank you so much for having me, brother. I'm a big fan of yours and the team there at Lifeway, and just so grateful that we do not only get to do life together as friends, but also do ministry together with Youth Pastor Summit and Lifeway students there, man. So we're grateful. I'm grateful, and thank you for having me, brother. I really appreciate it.
Man, we'll drop some information in the show notes, listeners, where you can find Jeff and find out more about SLU and YPS. They've got a great active Instagram community. There are all kinds of places you can go. So figure out where you can find and follow Jeff Wallace. He is a man that you need to know. And again, Jeff, so thankful for being here. Listeners, thank you for being leaders where you are. Listen, you are not in the chair you're in by accident. I believe that God has put you in the seat you're in for such a time as this, no matter where you are. And whether he has you there for another day or another decade, we need to be faithful to walk as leaders in all these different ways that Jeff and I have explored today. Man, I hope you go back and listen to this episode and pull out things that you can apply that are practical and applicable and actionable for the ministry that you lead right now to help you be the best leader you can be. Thanks for what you do. Thanks for your service to the Lord. And thank you for listening. We'll see you back again soon for another episode of the Etch Next Gen Ministry Podcast. This episode of the Etch Next Gen Ministry Podcast was brought to you by our amazing team. Executive producer, Angie Elkins. Producer, Nikki Ogden. Edited by Colin Cruz. And recorded in the Lifeway Podcast Studio in Brentwood, Tennessee. With sound engineer, Donnie Gordon. Artwork by Cameron Wilson. And I'm your host, Chuck Peters. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on Etch.